ever worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. It's Canon with
the one and only
Boris. So Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the It's Canon podcast. I'm your host this week. My name's Phil. And I am joined by Tyler.
We've overthrown Boris and instituted a new rule.
I know, right? It's sorry for everybody expecting to hear from Boris, but unfortunately he got a little bit busy with some stuff at work. Believe it or not, we have lives outside of this. And he's doing that today. So we're here to talk about everything comics, everything movies, everything video games, everything toys, everything geek. So it's your Canon podcast. I guess this is episode 16. So we're making our way through the episodes, even though I think we cheat that number quite a bit. I guess I want to know, Tyler, what's going on in your world? What's happening?
Oh, the return of Nazis continues at work. I had a couple of bad ones again this week, which is, it happens. I had a delightful customer in this week who said that, they're really liking Lovecraft Country and John Hickman's X-Men because they're not political, unlike
what?
Yeah, right. And I was like, unlike frickin' The Watchmen, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Have you never read an X-Men comic? And they came in very late, and they were already being a pain about like taking their mask on and off. So I laid into them a little bit. I don't think we've had very angry Tyler in me actually trying to dismantle someone on the show in quite a while. But it is a joy to see someone make an assertion. And I don't know if Phil knows this before, but I actually have a law degree. Like, I am actually a very educated human in specifically how to destroy people's arguments.
Yeah.
So this person came in and I just dismantled that like line of arguments of just like, you're factually wrong. you're factually wrong about whether this is more political or not. And then he started to lip off about like the current state of politics in Canada. And then I dismantled that set of assertions. And he just kind of ended by saying that like the head of the NDP party is a child. And I'm like, well, now you're just being a dingus.
Oh my goodness.
So it's been
one thing I don't miss about retail, and that is, especially in those types of environments, I used to work in a computer store. Mm-hmm. So I had my fair share, maybe not that extreme, but my goodness, that's like coming in and saying Rage Against the Machine wasn't political.
I get stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, like I watched Tom Morello dismantle some people a few weeks ago that were like, well, you guys should leave the politics out of your music because, like, out of your Twitter feed because you left it out of the music. And he's like, what?
What are you talking about?
Like, what the actual? But hey, yeah, Chris Claremont, bringing me back to when Chris Claremont used to write for X-Men, and it really took on that whole counterpoint with the mutants being ostracized and the whole history callback to the Jewish prosecution and everything like that, like the parallels, the whole writing style, everything. It's basically the foundation of a lot of modern X-Men stuff in the movies, at least, as far as I see the parallels. But maybe that's just because that was a dream era for me reading comics, and it just really got in there where it was just like, it finally felt like comic books started to depart in the 80s from the whole whap, bam, bow, pow kind of stuff and into deeper stories. We had Neil Gaiman starting to come out with Sandman, And things like that. And comics got more real to me. They got way more tangible. And
Yeah.
it was a fun time.
Oh, 100%. Super with you. And like, I'm, if the conversation was less, I don't like this specific politics, and more of like, I prefer something like Asterix, which is, Asterix has some politics in it because you can't make art without it. But Asterix's politics are a lot of like pretty milquetoast takes, which again,
Yeah.
fine. I have no problem with this. But it's bananas, the people that like now must be dealt with.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Maybe it's a product. I know we've got some stories coming up here that will probably relate back to a lot of this, but maybe it's a product of the pandemic and people just being in denial about a lot of stuff. I think that maybe I don't want to defend these people. I'm just trying to put an explanation over some really bizarre stuff that I'm hearing. So
totally.
I'll put that there.
Yeah, I have theories and the like on it.
Yeah.
But,
well, I used to basically want to make a sign that was, you ever watch the movie Clerks, the great Kevin Smith movie Clerks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted to make a sign that just put up at the front of the store that said patrons must bathe. That was my biggest thing. Was going to help somebody and be like, oh man, you need a shower. Like
100%. Well, it's the like, I just need you to wear a mask.
Yeah, and that must be a huge challenge. Hey, speaking of Clerks this week, Steve Whitmire, it was his birthday this week along with Jim Henson. I'm going to quickly call that out. The two of them were born on the same day, which actually floors me every year. Steve Whitmire, of course, was the voice of Kermit the Frog after Jim passed and was terminated by Disney ungraciously. But whatever. And he has his own little channel with this troll and whatnot. And he did I Heat this week with I'm not supposed to be here today, boy. Randall? No. What's his name now from Clerks? Oh my gosh. Well, we all know the guy. I'm not even supposed to be here today. The guy, like,
Yeah.
Wait, he's playing the part of De Niro in this little exchange of the movie Heat.
Yeah,
done with a puppet, opposite a puppet.
Oh, amazing.
So I got to give props to Steve for that because I saw it last night and it's a relatively short video. It's a departure from what he normally does on that channel. And yeah, it was just fun to see accredited actors and creative types getting together and merging synergy.
Oh, totally. There's some like the oh my god, I'm trying to do it without putting on like the over the top academic hat. There's some really cool stuff going on in terms of like different creatives who are out there and taking this opportunity to like work on some bananas projects and ideas they wouldn't get to otherwise. And you can criticize whether or not Keanu Reeves, quote, ought to get to use Kickstarter. But it's really cool Keanu Reeves is making a comic.
Yeah, well, hey, why not? Yeah. Like, here's one of the things that I think about actors, just on this little aside here. I don't know that actors are this walking bank of money. I think the more money you acquire, the more you find ways to either tie it up, and build wealth off of it. But that means that money's tied up. It's not like you're just sitting there on a stack of cash and you're going, oh, all right, let me just finish wiping here and I'll give you that 100. It means that maybe with these projects, they want to know the demands out there, which is why they probably lean towards a Kickstarter. If people are willing to put the money down, then he's willing to put his effort into it. He's not just going to do a loss leader on it. So,
yeah,
but it's fun to see. You're right. Like it's a lot of creativity.
I do think that, I don't want to say there's no validity to whether or not they should get to do this. But yeah.
And it came back to me, Dante.
Yes.
From Clerks.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to jump into our episode this week. First up, off the top, I think there was some massive video game news this week. And that is Xbox purchases ZeniMax. And like we're talking banana pants money here, like $7 billion. So to me, it looks like on the surface that Xbox or Microsoft gets locked out of this TikTok deal. And then what do? They go, well, we kind of had this money freed up. So what are we going to do with it? Well, you know what? The Xbox division, it could use a little bit of a kick in the pants. It could use a leg up on Sony. Let's just go out and drop $7 billion and pick up ZeniMax, which means that we get id Software, we get Bethesda, we get everything. Like this is a huge video game company. And now Xbox are sitting there saying, well, we're going to merge all of these titles into our Xbox Game Pass and make it even that much more powerful, which they admitted this week that they have 15 million subscribers to this service.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive number. And now they're building the strength of this subscription service even more. Like it wasn't enough that they just added cloud gaming. You know what I mean? Like now we're talking about aggressive, like they added EA Pass or EA Play, I guess, with all their Vault titles. Mm-hmm. And now we're into like games like Skyrim and stuff like that, like and Doom.
I was going to say Doom might be the bigger, more relevant one right now, given that Skyrim has just been them making the same game over and over again.
And apparently they're working on like a new title that's going to rival 2077 or be science fiction-y.
Would love that. Yeah. I honestly, I would love... Yeah. Yeah, so I there's a lot of stuff been talking about this deal and whether or not, how long it goes back, because they haven't really said how long this deal's been in the works. And anyone who knows corporate law can attest that sometimes these deals take months or years to get figured out. It is worth noting that Microsoft has explicitly said we're not guaranteeing any, we're not going out there and saying all this stuff's going to be Xbox exclusive or Windows exclusive. I mean, you look at Outer Worlds, which was a subsidiary of Microsoft, and they were like, yeah, PS4, whatever, we don't care. So it looks like, they're going to do it quasi similar to how Sony's doing their more in-house stuff, but a little more lenient in that, I would imagine this ends up being stuff of oh yeah, it's going to be on PS5 and Series X and your PC, same time, same launch date. But we maybe have this little extra bonus that drops if you play it on Xbox, you have Game Pass or whatever.
Yeah.
To say nothing of, the sheer number of games that just go straight to Game Pass.
Yeah, and to be clear too, right? Exactly to your point, we don't know what the history of this purchase was. If it was something that got slapped together rather quickly in principle, they agreed to these terms. It obviously has to go through a lot of review and whatnot by the industry and by the safeguards, but it'll be in full swing probably in a year. Microsoft have declared that they're going to be semi hands off. They want the studios to continue to produce as they were without much Microsoft interference, but they also came out and they said that they're not going to interfere with those contractual obligations. Mm-hmm. So Deathloop will still be coming out for the PS5. Even though it was never supposed to come out for the Xbox, I think now the asterisk is beginning to emerge where they're going to say, hey, you know what? It's an exclusive on the PS5 for contractually says 1 year.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll see it port over to the Xbox and into Game Pass. So I think that there's definitely longevity things. And, they played this game with Bungie a little bit and Activision when they were doing Destiny. Destiny signed up for a shit ton of exclusives with PlayStation. And it basically locked Xbox out for a year on a lot of content, which really damaged that player base. And now that Bungie's extracted itself from Activision, we're seeing that they're running open arms towards Microsoft and Xbox. And it's to the point now where this week they launched Destiny 2 with all the add-ons, which were barred from coming on to Xbox for a time period. They rejoiced in the fact that, yes, it's on Game Pass. It's 108 gigabytes to download. I downloaded it. It was interesting. And then I linked my accounts. And then I got a whole bunch of achievement points for doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's wondering why my achievement point score jumped by another 600 this week, we know why. But yeah, I think it's a good purchase. It's definitely a great portfolio. Now the rumors are that Microsoft isn't done yet, and they're looking at maybe purchasing Sega.
Interesting.
So I think that signals to me that they're interested in getting in on the battleground of Mario, which was always Sega's dream, right?
Well,
They came up with Sonic the Hedgehog. They came up with endearing characters and endearing games. They were nowhere near the popularity of Mario, but I think it just shows that there's a legitimate play to be in that zone with recognizable IP, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll happen. It's the rumor. I keep on seeing it pop up in thumbnails and things that I read on the internet. I just keep on seeing it reoccur. So
Yeah.
who knows? Now, in other news, we had pre-sale disasters. We all know about the PS5, and we know that they released more PS5s, and I can't wait to hear Tyler's story about his experience. As well, Xbox taunted Sony on Twitter. And then Xbox site crashed on their pre-launch, on their pre-sale or sale.
And crashed.
So I don't really like this. I think there's two conversations. There's the fact that demand is so high on these products. 2020 is definitely a gaming year, given all the couch time that we have. But as well, I just think that it's getting to be really bad policy to get on social media and shit talk your competitor when you can't back it up. I just got a little irritated by the fact that Sony's throwing it, and then I'm watching their pre-sales and everything is just a mess. It wasn't as bad as PS5, but it wasn't good. It wasn't shit talk good.
Mm-hmm.
You have any thoughts?
Oh,
I know you have experience.
Yeah. I'm with you on that point, though. I think that I have a bunch of views about this whole frickin' the mess this has been trying to handle all this. And I don't think you can say it's anything but, right?
It's literally to the point where I don't even want to bother trying.
Yeah, I'm pretty darn close to not even trying anymore. It's a dog's breakfast. None of it's being handled well. Neither, like, both sides are like, oh, we're doing great. And it's like, they're not. And we talked about it a little bit off of the Hersmanders, off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's this very strange circumstance where so much anti-consumer stuff is happening. And I don't understand how that just seems to be like, oh, that's just okay.
Yeah. You know what? In my naive way, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this after sharing your experiences privately with us, like, just our banter.
Yeah.
And it used to be you just walk into your EB or your Best Buy or whatever, and you go, oh, shit, look at that. Yeah, the PS5's coming up. Or maybe you go and you buy the Avengers game. And the guy behind the counter says, do you want to reserve your PS5 now? We've got a waiting list. I go, you know what? Yeah. You know what? Let me give you $50. It's not even, I don't even need to worry, like $50. Here you go. I'll have the money when the thing comes out. Don't worry. Here's my $50. They save me a spot in line. And then they give you a call and they go, well, it's releasing at midnight tonight, or you can come in tomorrow and pick it up. It's up to you. We've got one for you, or we don't have one for you, but we'll have one soon because you were a little late on the pre-order.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I appreciate that. Thanks for the heads up, dude. Appreciate it. All right. I get my call. I go in, I pick it up. Simple times.
Yeah.
This is like all online. Here, we need your $700 now.
Well, there's that, and there's that, like, no one will take an extended list.
Yeah.
This weird new policy of, like, no one is taking the extended list, and I do not understand why. And they're like, oh, it'd be like 300 names long. And I'm like, you don't want 300 like all but guaranteed customers?
Yeah.
Like, even if you have an attrition rate of 50%,
Yep.
why would you not power through that?
Yeah. The only thing that's going to kill that list is if people walk into Walmart and there's just mountains of PS5s or Xbox One, Series X, whatever the hell it's called,
Well,
sitting there, and they go, well, you know what? I ordered it at EB. I want my $50 back. And then they're going to come to you and get their $50 back. Yeah, from EB, you might be pissed at that, but man, you had a chance at that customer if you could have secured the product.
yeah, so this gets to our larger thing that we were talking about and we want to talk about today, which is that like it's and this isn't me being like, how dare capitalism be capitalism? It's me scratching my head at how companies think they can do like things that piss off their customers indefinitely and just not care. Like no one, they just like, well, that's, shit.
Thinking about this a little bit, and I just think that it's the way the mercenary world is now. If you look at most places of work, there's a lot of contractors.
Yeah.
They have no real obligation to your brand. They just come in, they do their job, they leave. If they're really good, maybe they stick around. And I think the customers and the corporations that run these retail outfits are now looking at the clients and just saying we have no obligation anymore. Because almost every single store that I used to have a loyalty program with, it's pretty much gone now.
Yeah.
Right? Like it used to be Best Buy would give you money back so you could buy other shit.
Yeah.
At discount or whatever. None of these programs exist. And for a while there, I was like, well, maybe margins are just too tight. I understand. I used to be an assistant manager of a computer store. I understand the margin argument, but at the same rate, Xbox released this week the price points on their extended 1 terabyte SSD storage cards, which are proprietary, everybody, and they ring in at $299 American. The cost.
For how much? How much storage?
For 1 terabyte.
Yeah, 1 terabyte of storage.
So basically, if you're buying an Xbox Series S, then you're going to have to double that price in order to get usable save space for games. Because as I said, ladies and gentlemen, I downloaded Destiny 2 this week, and it was 108 gigabytes.
Yep.
And that's not in 4K.
Yeah.
So the size of games are going to balloon. Like if you've got a 1S or one of these diskless Sonys coming, you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 games on your hard drive. Like that's a lot of management.
Yeah. It's bananas.
I'm running like 4 terabytes of data off of my Xbox and PS3 right now just to house usable libraries.
I'm with you. I'm with you on all these points. It is bananas. It is. And I mean, we were talking, I want to get back to the side of it of, like you said, like loyalty programs are going away and all this stuff. And like, if you're Best Buy, why would you want to encourage your customers to be increasingly mercurial? Like what my day job, we do the exact opposite. Like we will take an unlimited order list and we say to you, like, here's the deal. You're person 170 on this list. I can't guarantee you anything.
Yeah.
But if I go through that list and I get to you, you're getting a phone call. Because it's an Excel file. It's 15 minutes of my day.
Yep.
If that, and I get customer loyalty. And then customers come back and customers are willing to spend more money and do stuff like, if our player's handbook for D&D is $5 more than Indigo or whatever, they're still going to come to my store because they're like, well, but I care about them. And they do all these other good things that I'm willing to subsidize. It's the exact same as we're seeing on Patreon right now of people want to pay more for stuff they like and people they care about.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you can run a business being like, no, I'm going to try to be Amazon, but worse.
Yeah. Like nobody likes dealing with that attitude out in the real world. And that's what companies are missing in that boardroom meeting or whatever, wherever these decisions are being made, right? Is like when you start screwing over your customers, I know the customer will screw you. All right. I know that. And I know that there are guys, all right, like in my experience, I've done things where I've put together group travel trips to sporting events and things like that. We're just going to have a good time. We book a bus. We all go, hey, look, it's $100 each. It costs $5,000 for the bus. There's 55 seats. We put in this much money. We go, and somebody will complain, I wish it was 95.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I realize that very quickly. Nobody's happy. So I understand that point of view from a business side.
Nobody's happy. It's not everybody's happy.
Yeah, you can't make everybody happy, and I understand that that shouldn't be your primary motive. But when it's something so simple, it really is. Like, I might get to you, I might not. Exactly like you say. Here's the caveat, dude. All right, you're 170 on this list, or 350th on this list. The odds are stacked against you, but I'm not going to be a shit to you.
Oh, and the other side of like, look, you're 300th on the list. I'm ordering a metric ton of PlayStations, but we'll see. And then let's say like it's like, here's the deal. If you're still not listed in December, I'm throwing the list out at that point.
Yeah,
I would be very chill with that. Of like, by December, like I have no idea what's going on. I don't know if you've gotten one or not yet. Because I get it. Because part of the concern is, you know, you pre-sell 300 PS5s, and somehow you manage to get like 300 PS5s, and all of a sudden a bunch of your customers have bought elsewhere already. I get you don't want to hold on to dead stock.
Yeah, but that stock's never going to be dead.
Well,
like for the next year, you're guaranteed that you're going to be able to basically sell it at cost, at worst. And if you're taking, let's say, a minimum of $10 to $50 down, all right, and you're willing to give that back. It's not a significant amount of money, but it might be a bit of a purchasing money for a company that's in trouble. Like, you know, let's not make out like EB Games / GameStop / any game front is killing it in this world, because it seems like every time I tune in to look at numbers about digital sales, even though sometimes you can find the anti-digital sale kind of movement, it seems like the digital sale movement is gaining a lot of ground.
100%.
Over,
100%.
you know,
because
just off of my experience, I can tell you, man, it's way easier to not stand in line in the middle of the night and to sit there and go, hey, guess what? At midnight, I can just be in my shorts. I turn on my PS4 and the game's there.
And this is exactly what I'm saying of how do you run a business? And you're like, oh yeah, no, fuck that. Why would I do anything to get this fixed up for me? And it's like you said, they're not doing great. So why would you give your customers no reason to care about you?
Yeah, you're basically pushing us towards the Amazons.
Yeah, and like I get it. You probably can't go back to what you were in EB Games, and that's a pain. But there are a lot of us who are willing to like be loyal and get our used games and stuff through you and do the buy and sell, and you make money on those transactions.
Yeah, like let's face it, the people behind the counter at EB Games are no different than the people that are at the independents. They're people in my community that deserve employment, that deserve being treated like regular human beings, that deserve my loyalty if I get along with that dude. I don't care if he's at Microplay or at EB or wherever. If that's the person or girl that I relate to and I go, hey, look, I'm buying my video game. What do you think of this? They give me an opinion and I attach to them. I want to support them. You know, we all talk about shopping local and doing things like that. Then why the hell would you take a corporate policy that's anti-consumer?
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you want to look at the proof in the pudding, this is exactly what Starbucks' policy was. It was, we are going to make everyone's local coffee shop. And you look at how Starbucks treats their employees. It's bananas.
Yeah. And I got to say, I will put this out. I was going to say it earlier about the loyalty. The only loyalty that shows me any love is Starbucks.
Right.
I hate to say it, but they send me messages. They encourage me to purchase product in a non-offensive way. And my experience is always great when I walk into a Starbucks. It is hands down. Like I walk into a Starbucks and there's at least 3 people that are saying hi to me, that are asking about this podcast.
Yeah.
That are actually involved with me as a customer and they're serving me the cheapest, not the cheapest, it's Starbucks. I get it. I could go to Tim Hortons, but they're serving me a product that isn't on the high end. It's not a fucking PS5. Like, I was a black card member at EB. I was that infamous card that no one could ever get because I bought 3 video game systems in a year. Plus, Boris will attest to this. I buy every single video game in the world pretty much and archive it. Yes, I have a lot of video games. I don't play them all. Yeah. But anyhow, stores love me. They love me and my wallet to come in, and yet,
yeah, and these companies then like it's that race to the bottom of they look at like, well, why does Amazon keep eating my lunch? And it's like, well, because you have told the customer that's their best bet.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to move it forward. Amazon launches Luna.
Yeah.
All right. These guys are using their AWS servers. They're combining it with Twitch. They've got iOS support. All right. Using the web. They've bypassed the guys at Apple on this. And here's the killer thing. I know there's a lot of stuff memeing out there this week about the controller looking exactly like the Nintendo Switch Pro controller.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's very unoriginal looking. But anyhow, the killer feature that I was talking about was the fact that this controller links to the cloud. It doesn't link to a device to translate a Bluetooth connection that then translates it to the cloud that then beams it back to you. So they've taken one latency leg out of this equation, which I thought was rather brilliant.
Possibly
If it works. Yeah. It's a big if.
Yeah. All this new tech, sometimes it's like, oh, this is gonna be amazing.
Yeah, Stadia.
God, that came and died real fast.
Yeah, well, it's still out there, but
Sure.
it's just a matter of time before Google lowers the guillotine. Probably once it starts getting a little more popular, Google will kill it.
Got it.
I don't know what kind of game lineup. I didn't investigate this heavily, people. So I'm just going off of the titles. I'm hitting easy gophers out of the whack-a-mole here. But as far as I know, the subscription service kind of works in a channel-like format, which has got to be appealing to like companies like Ubisoft and different developers, where they're going to be able to get a channel and maybe some direct revenue. The integration to Twitch as well is going to be interesting. That's a big platform to be able to basically, you'd be able to sit there, watch on your Twitch stream, somebody playing a game, like let's say Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then something would come up and just say, do you want to play it? Just click here. Play it now for free for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, talk about, now we're getting in a really creepy Amazon. And oh, by the way, I love our corporate overlords in Amazon. But we're getting into really interesting marketing areas with technology now. We are seeing the realizations that come with some of what's going on. Any thoughts on this, Tyler? I kind of played that up.
Yeah, I don't. Amazon. It's going to be Amazon. I think that the Twitch integration is going to be an interesting view and an interesting handle on things. There's a lot of weird stuff happening on Twitch right now. But what makes it big on Twitch is more art than science. I mean, Among Us is possibly the greatest example of recent history of a game being out, like, didn't it come out like in 2018? Yeah. And now it's like the biggest game on Twitch. Like 2 years later, it didn't start getting picked up till like July, August this year. So I mean, I think that the Twitch integration is Amazon being like, look, a selling point. And I think most people who give a bat's badonkus are like, Twitch functionally integrates with everything now, either directly or someone's built an app you can use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I find this whole Twitch thing interesting. It just seems to me like somebody went to Jeff Bezos one day and said, "Hey, we own Twitch."
Yeah.
And Jeff was
okay.
"What? I was drunk when I bought that." You know what I mean? Like I was distracted. How many billions did I spend? Oh no, it was Justin TV. You bought it for a couple 100,000 or something. I don't know what the real story is. I know that it used to be Justin TV. And it's just amazing to me because it always seems to be this like back end monster on Amazon that Amazon, like it's like an illegitimate child or something. Amazon don't really embrace it that often. And this might be its chance, right? Like this might be a situation where we're going to be getting into the idea that Amazon starts monetizing or aggressively putting effort into the gaming sector. And, Microsoft is famous for always saying its competitors, as much as it loves Sony and Nintendo, its competitors are not Sony or Nintendo. Its competitors are Google and Amazon. They've always had their reticle publicly pointed at that because they can buy Sony or Nintendo. Microsoft don't have a cash flow problem. And these companies are small enough that even though they're competing in that market, they don't compete as a company on whole.
True.
So Amazon and Google do, and it seems like both of them are in. It seems like Google went half-assed in. They tried to make the splash. They tried to say to everybody, look, we're Google, we're in the gaming, we've got your back, even though I've got a daydream. I know what happens with Google. They stop at certain points.
Yeah.
Amazon seemed to be doing the opposite here, where they're just kind of creeping in and saying, we kind of already have gaming cred. And we're going to launch this now. And I don't know, does it build? Does it evolve? It's a different approach rather than trying to smack into the industry and saying, hey, everybody, give us $10 a month and we'll give you all your games that you can buy anyway.
Yeah.
Price.
Yeah, that was,
That's where it falls down for me. Like, I'm not even trying it. But to be fair, Xbox Game Pass streaming seems to rock. So I see the future. My eyes are open. And through all this stuff, I know that personally, as far as gaming goes, through all of this stuff with Sony and Xbox, I gotta say I'm starting to get converted to this Game Pass type of I might buy an Xbox first. Because there's nothing more discouraging than having to start over with the PS5. And especially when there's no titles there. Like, I'm functionally racing to go out to buy something that's just going to look pretty next to my TV.
I mean, they are getting some really good launches pretty soon after.
Yeah.
And they've done the clever thing of, like, they just dropped, like, oh, all these games are going to be digital free if you're in the PS Plus collection.
Yeah. But I already have all those games on my PS4.
True. Yeah, no, that's a different situation for you. All your digital games from PS4 do go over to the PS5, but your account still lasts. But I definitely feel you of like there's some both sides are getting increasingly interested in locking you in.
Mm-hmm. I'm already locked into both. True. They both do what they're going to do to me. All right. And I'm here to experience it, report on it, and enjoy it. All right. I'm just starting to say that out of all the ones that I probably made fun of the most with Xbox, I'm starting to really come around on it, where it's just like Game Pass is awesome. The lack of launch titles isn't really a problem. The fact that they're back cataloging and upgrading some of my titles is now attractive, where I go, there's nothing wrong with Forza Horizon 4. It plays great. Now you're telling me you're going to make an 60 frame per second or 120 frame per second 4K version specific to if I buy an Xbox Series X? Sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, give me that free shit that I've been paying for all this time. Like, Sony aren't doing the same thing. They're even putting the screws to people over the Spider-Man this week.
Mhm.
It's confirmed now that if you buy Miles Morales for the PS4 because you can't get your hands on a PS5 version,
Yep.
if you go and slide that disc into your PS5, yeah, it'll give you Miles Morales at 4K, 60 frames per second, or 120, or whatever the number is.
Yep.
But they won't give you the old game in the upgraded platform.
Yeah, that's weird.
The only reason why you get that is if you have the PS5 and you buy the PS5 version.
Yeah, that's weird.
So
That
they're
was
going to
a
make you
weird
pay
choice.
another $20. Like, really, Sony? Really? By
That
the
was a
way, I
weird
bought
choice.
Rebel Galaxy Outlaw came out this week.
Yeah.
I love the first one, Rebel Galaxy.
Yeah.
Outlaw came out this week. It's been a long time. I've had it on my Steam account. I bought it I paid the $40, and I actually made the choice to buy it on my Xbox versus my PlayStation, which is normally my main gaming rig, because I just got mad at PlayStation
Fair.
about all this crap with the PS5 and everything like that. And I felt like, you know what? I want the developer to get my money. I really like this title. I really like the soundtrack. I really like the gameplay. I'm going to go spend my time and my efforts in that platform on that game. So
Yeah.
It's interesting what's happening. I find that it's interesting watching what I want to do and how other customers are probably in a similar boat. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for people to let us know what you think. So
Definitely.
we're going to move on to movies. Big
God.
news this week. Black Widow has been pushed to 2021. I'm not even going to report any dates. We're just going to go by years now.
Yeah. Just whatever.
But
Nothing matters.
NATO, the North American, I don't know, it's NATO, but it's not the NATO we're thinking. It's basically the theater overlords have basically announced that they know that theaters are going to close with the second wave.
What a gosh darn surprise.
Yeah, it's going to jeopardize all the dates that have been put forward for movies. So Disney went out and said, we're not putting Black Widow on Disney Plus because their last release was somewhat vague about the possibility of it showing up on Disney Plus. It just basically said that we're moving it to November launch. And when you say launch, it could be digital. It could be theater. There was a little bit of ambiguity there. So now they're saying that Black Widow is officially pushed into, I believe, May 2021.
Which then pushes almost everything else in the MCU.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprise.
Yeah.
I think they need the breathing. Yeah, they need the breathing room on the MCU because I think that Guardians 3 really messed it up from what I'm hearing. The fact that James Gunn is unavailable to do it because of the contractual obligation towards DC after Disney basically gave him the middle finger.
Well, let's slow down. Let's chill on that one. They made a staffing decision that
they made a staffing decision that wasn't in James Gunn's favor. And as a director, I can respect that maybe he's a little less enthusiastic.
Sure, yeah,
but
he
also he also wants to complete what he started out. So I'm sure it's a difficult position for James. All right, I'm not here to say yes or no or judge. I'm just saying, as a person, he's probably got to feel a little bit of ill will or not really motivated to get on it. And secondly, the pandemic can't make it easy either. So we're looking at 2021. Thoughts?
I mean, that's I don't know who we didn't know this would happen. This was going to come. It is flabbergasting the number of people out there who are still like, oh no, we'll totally it'll be open in a month, and it's like, how are you? No, it won't.
Yeah, I think I saw a news report this week that really put it into somewhat of perspective when compared to the Spanish flu, 1918.
Yeah.
Where basically it paralleled the first wave and the second wave are paralleling the times.
Yeah.
And the first wave was way smaller than what North Americans' numbers are. And I'm going to say North America. All right.
Yep.
And then the second wave basically was like our first wave. And that was jaw-dropping back then. So I'm not expecting happy times. And people did the exact same shit that they're doing now. Excuse my French, but they did the exact same stuff that they're doing now, and they acted like idiots, and they ignored social distancing. They just lived life the way that we always have.
It's bananas how little changes.
Yeah, and they completely gave it the legs to come back. Like, it's absolutely... I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised as well. Because I don't know. I live in my man cave. I work, I wake up, I work, I watch media, and I go to sleep, and I try to avoid all humans, except for maybe my Starbucks.
Yeah,
it's tough, man.
Yeah, it's such banana.
Yeah.
Everything's terrible.
Wear your masks, people. I know Tyler is probably sick of saying this at work, but wear your freaking masks. Have some, it really bothers me because I saw demonstrations all this weekend about people that don't want to wear masks. And I know it's only a small percentage. So I'm not speaking by and large at the majority of listeners, I don't think. But for those few or those people that we know that don't like masks, you had similar pushbacks to wearing seatbelts in cars when they became mandatory.
Yeah.
And I don't think now people really question putting a seatbelt on.
Oh,
but at the time,
surprised.
Oh, I think there are a lot of people who don't, but I don't think they do it based off of freedom.
Whoa.
I think they do it. Really?
You gotta talk to some mechanics.
Oh, wow.
Because the number of mechanics I've talked to, they're like these idiots. They will like plug in their seatbelt and sit on top of it because government can't tell them what to do. And it's like your body is just going to go flying out that front window and ragged all across the pavement.
Yeah, like I gotta tell you, my brother is a police officer, and the amount of and he used to be a forensics photographer. The amount of stories that I heard about people not wearing seatbelts is mortifying. Like, there's no choice in my mind about wearing a seatbelt. Yeah, and the same thing equates to me about wearing a mask. It's, you know what? It is quite arguable, and masks are not 100%. Neither are condoms, people. But
nothing is.
Nothing is. But the thing is that the mask is probably a higher efficacy rate than even a vaccine at this point. Like, if they came out with vaccines, the vaccines would be like 50 to 60%. The mask is like 95%. Like,
yep.
I just don't get it. Like, socially distancing and masks.
I mean, do you want to know what a mask is much better at stopping what it's supposed to then?
What?
A lot better than owning a gun.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Like, just
it's
statistically.
So true.
Just statistically, defending yourself with a gun, your numbers are not nearly as good as wearing a mask to defend yourself versus what it is defending you against.
Yeah,
Stats
makes
on
sense.
my side.
Yep. Oh, man. Lawyered.
I mean, people will argue against stats all the time. There's just no one understands numbers.
Nope. Speaking of numbers.
Oh, no.
Speaking of Black Widow being pushed to 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Do we think that Dune is next?
Yeah. I don't understand how Dune is not. I don't understand how there hasn't been just a flat, like, it's online or it's not coming out.
I'm curious. Do you want to look up the totals for Tenet? Because I heard something claim this week that they actually have made about $300 million in the box office. And I thought that sounded absolutely insane.
Nope. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Give me a second.
Okay.
Autocorrect fight me.
Yeah, because I heard that number and I thought if they did 300 million, like standing O to Christopher Nolan.
251 worldwide.
That ain't bad, all things considered.
That ain't good. 41.2 domestic.
Yeah, for that movie, it needs to make a lot more. I get it. But I am shocked that that's the total worldwide.
Yeah. So Tenet reported a budget of $205 million to make it.
That's a little on the low side.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but
That's how much it costs to make.
so they made their money.
$225 million, depending on how you're budgeting it. And it's worth remembering that, like, while it has some very, very talented actors in it, there were no RDJs that cost $26 million.
No.
Right? They had no actor who was like, oh, this is like 10% of our budget in one person.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If I take 250 and then I think about the video aspect, like that market, I would imagine it's going to be a lot of people who buy that.
Maybe,
Like-
yeah. They're saying 41.2 million domestic, and usually you want your domestic to beat.
Yeah.
And it's worth remembering that the reason that your overseas can do so well is because all those countries are allowed to have movie theaters again.
Yeah, because they're not dank and moist.
I'm trying to see, 30 million in China thus far. That's about what I expected.
Yeah.
7.1 mil from UK, 6.7 from France, 10.3 from South Korea.
No. Well, you know what? Good on them. I think, you know, it's an interesting time we live in, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know that, if anything else, just keep your eyes and ears about you, especially in this type of news, because there might not, like, if things go back to normal, things get really boring again. We're just talking about weekly numbers. We're just talking about breaking records. This is like a battle of survival here.
This is to talk about numbers and breaking records. The weekend Tenet came out was the lowest box office weekend for a major opening in over 32 years. When you
Amazing.
account for inflation, it's like the worst opening in history.
Yeah, and that's not a reflection on the movie. That's the times, right?
Oh,
So-
that's what I'm not saying it though.
No, it's fun to observe. It's fun to observe. All right, moving on. I know we all know it's here. I've been talking about it all week. I don't know if Tyler or Boris has been listening, but we have Mando season 2 news. All right, so it's exciting time.
News, or is this more speculation? Because I do feel like we got
one that's kind of news.
Okay.
But still on the speculation side. I'm not going to give it the bona fide, and one that is the rest is rumor.
Yeah, there's been, speaking frankly, bananas coverage on Mandalorian season 2 that reports itself as truth and then is within 24 hours revealed as
fake or not real. Well,
Trumped
this
up
is
from
speculation.
rumor.
Let's put it all as speculation. We'll put that title on everything.
Yeah.
It's just that one of them, the actor who played Jango Fett, we knew he was recast. Or he was cast into Mandalorian season 2. It turns out that his management company put on their website, it has since been taken down, but did update their website that this client is reprised his role as Boba Fett.
Sure.
For Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah, sure. It's worth noting that because Boba Fett was a clone, and a lot of the clone soldiers were clones, it could be entirely that this was another clone that has taken on the Boba Fett identity.
Yep. There's a lot of play in there.
Yeah. And marketing it as Boba Fett is 100% like.
Yeah, because we kind of had him in episode 5 for all those people who had their little antennas up at the end of the season 5, episode 5 in season 1. There was a particular sound when a mysterious set of legs walked onto set at the end of the episode. And that mysterious sound was the sound of Boba Fett spurs. So that was kind of the fan base. And then even in the Disney gallery, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni kind of hint at it.
Sure.
And it's pretty obvious when you watch it. I forget which episode that was in, though, to be fair. I'm not surprised. I know that there was also talk that he could be playing Rex, because we know that Rex survived. It is confirmed in Rebels that Rex was at the Battle of Endor. He was the white bearded dude back in 1984.
I mean, I'm okay with that kind of
Yeah, I love those little connections. I know it wasn't meant.
whatever-y. Yeah.
It just turns out that they're able to work the story and the characters into this position.
Yeah.
I watched the end of Rebels last night. I watched the end of Clone Wars, or I watched some of the relevant episodes of Clone Wars. I found it was very interesting to see how Dave Filoni in particular is drawing the potential of the Mandalorian into some really big storytelling themes that he opened up in those things. The rumor is there's also an actor out there that got on Twitter this week who basically says that he's Ezra Bridger.
Well,
Live action.
and
then he walked it back.
He said, "No, that was a lie."
Yeah, but he didn't quite say it's a lie. He basically walked it back to the point where Disney wasn't going to give him crap. He said, he went on to say, "I would love to be Ezra Bridger."
Yeah.
And then he thanked the Star Wars audience for being so awesome and having great fans. And basically this looks like a little bit, it smacks of a PR move where it's like making up with the fan base and trying to rectify things without overtly doing so.
Yeah.
It really has a lot of PR ways of an actor ingratiating himself to the audience, preparing people for it, but staying out of the corporate stew. And I believe the corporate end of it would even be like, well done. Like, if it wasn't planned, well done. Thank you for that. Because we've just gained 2.5 million more viewers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Potential viewers.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, bringing back Ezra, which they had, properly set up, unlike Boba Fett. Like, Boba Fett was ostensibly dead, and we've talked about the problem with major studios refusing to kill characters and how it ends up getting weird for your stories. I look, a lot of Marvel, a lot of things. But yeah, the refusal to kill characters can be really bad for your story, because all of a sudden, like, what? Like, you kill any tension, you kill any concern if you know that a character is going to get back to the status quo. If you know Boba Fett is back, which could go either way, but if you know Boba Fett's back and that, like, there's nothing that can happen to Boba Fett, it makes him less badass.
Yep, it takes away. It makes things like a soap opera.
Yeah, that too.
You know, my mom used to watch soap operas, and it would be like, well, that guy's dead, and then the next season he comes back because, oh no, that was my twin brother, and blah 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 blah. There's this like really weak story point in order to justify this really popular character who they underestimated being brought back.
Yeah,
I think with Dave Filoni, in my opinion, Dave Filoni's earned the credibility to handle revival of a character in a way better way than maybe some others do. And by that, I mean, like, look at J.J. Abrams and Palpatine. That was disingenuous bullcrap. All right. But then you look at the way Dave Filoni handled Darth Maul, where he said, hey, you know what? We had a really cool character, and kudos to George. He made the decision to kill him in the first episode. But I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of metrics that showed the only bright point in that movie was a lot of the marketing surrounding the image of Darth Maul and the screen time of Darth Maul.
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's a lot of metrics that go into that. And Dave said, you know what? Let's bring him back, but let's make him his own character, because he never even got explored.
Yes, they did. Bring back Darth Maul. They, first of all, did a lot of interesting things. Second of all, had him be permanently altered by what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And third of all, like, they still had, like, that story arc still had an ending in mind.
Yep.
And we got to that ending versus just this, no, we're just going to last in this mediocre, nothing ever changes forever.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that you look at Clone Wars, the last season that we just had, and Darth Maul obviously plays such a huge part in it, and we all know he's going to die. Like, Obi-Wan's going to kill him.
Yep.
And it didn't ruin anything for me. You know what I mean? It was more so like, how's he going to get out of this? And what's, sure, there was an absolute in mind, and I've seen him in Solo as well, right? Around the same period.
Yeah.
And it just makes for me that storytelling in that time frame is just super compelling when he's involved. Because now,
also, yeah,
we're going to get into Ezra. We're going to get into, Admiral Thrawn. Is Timothy Olyphant maybe Admiral Thrawn?
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, because he's kind of got the voice for it.
The Olyphant's an interesting actor. He's an interesting actor.
Yeah.
I do think that, I mean, my position, and I've talked about before, that I think Star Wars needs to become... I think that the nature of Star Wars plots and what we've done already has shown that a lot of people want it to get beyond the binary of it's just good space wizards versus bad space wizards. I love that they're doubling down on, like, the Mandalorians are this anti-Jedi group that has the capacity to take on a Jedi. And then we're also adding in this larger kind of thing of Jedi and Sith are terrifying if you are not one of them.
Yep. Well, that's basically where the Mandalorians are. They hate Jedi and Sith. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then they brought it up in Clone Wars, and then now again that, like, a lot of their stuff was an anti-Jedi set of decisions. And then you also look at Fallen Order. To its credit, Darth Vader was terrifying to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And even Rebels, that early times, whenever they fight an Inquisitor, and it's like, no, we're not going to win. Our goal is to escape.
Yeah, much like Matrix and the agents.
Exactly, and I think that if you want Star Wars to go beyond just the Skywalker family drama, you need to start exploring some of those other.
I think this is the first steps of it, right? Where we're looking at introducing a character from. I'm happy that it's from the cartoons. I'd love to see that full idealized universe where it's books, comics, wherever. I'm happy to see it, though, with Dave Filoni able to shepherd in some of these characters into live action. Like, we have the idea of Ahsoka being pretty much confirmed, and obviously not 100%, but we have Sabine making that appearance in the trailer. We think, we don't know for sure. We have Katie Sackhoff going to be reprising, or going to be taking on the role of one of the Mandalorians from the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, this is like, I can't not see Katie Sackhoff when I'm watching the last season, those last 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, what a brilliant casting job that is. And for her to get in on Star Wars after such an epic run on Battlestar Galactica and other Netflix stuff. I don't know. I'm really excited to see where this might go. Right?
Nice.
Like, we're talking about the idea that Dave Filoni might be making a whole bunch of other side projects for Star Wars and just completely avoiding these movies and just be like producing live action in that theater kind of set that they have, the environment that they have, being able to pump out multiple shows on Disney Plus and really inspiring the fan base and getting to what it is that we're all talking about.
Yeah.
A little bit of Jedi stuff, but it's not going to be Skywalker. It's not going to be, is Boba Fett still Boba Fett, or is it someone else wearing Boba Fett's armor?
Yeah.
There are places that this can go that's a lot of fun. Now that Mandalorian isn't a race, it's a creed.
Yeah, which is definitely bringing it back to what it was in the Legends canon. It started as a race and then became something more.
Yeah. It's a good place to be. Now, apparently, on the other speculative end of things, I was surprised to see so many articles, and I know it's refuted, but this type of news, sometimes when it is true, i.e. when Lord and Miller got canned, when all the disruptions were happening on Rogue One with Kathleen Kennedy and the writers/directors, and bringing in David Gilroy and blah, 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 blah. All these denials run by these news outlets that obviously get fed a story that counters the real story that comes out. I'm reading this in that same vein. I could be wrong, but it looks like the whole uproar about Pedro Pascal is getting more credibility, that he's not even showing up to set anymore, that he's just going to do the voice in post and that's it. He's just totally PO'd about not having his face being shown.
Yeah.
And maybe wanting a raise and dissuading basically Dave and John from, rethinking the balance of the show in the episodes that they have, to maybe re-rigging them through some extra shoots to have less to do with the Mandalorian and more about the universe. So I think that bodes well, to be honest. But I'm tired of seeing the constant circus that surrounds Star Wars when it comes to these behind the scenes types of things. I think we're all tired of that. I don't think we want to see these headlines. I hope that they're wrong.
Yeah.
But where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm sure that there's some conflict there. But it's up to them to sort it out. I hope they all put on their big boy pants and get down to it. Now, Emmys were this week. I got to give a big shout out, even though it's off topic, to Schitt's Creek. The only time I can say Schitt's Creek and not get in trouble for something, because they cleaned house in the comedy category. I'm not a big awards guy. I'm not going to count them up, but I'm sure it was 7 or 8. And the big geek kind of win out of all this was Watchmen, which isn't political at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Watchmen got 3 Emmys, nominated for 6, I believe.
Yep.
And I think that they were basically the hands down big winners of the evening as far as a single title. So good on them. I don't think Golden Girls was up for any.
Real tragedy.
But that's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So, but
what,
at least
what is it that a show that has been off the air for 29 years can't win an Emmy this year?
I know it with Amazon's brilliant relaunch of that. Like watching you guys talk about Golden Girls is just killing me. And I don't have a problem with Golden Girls. I just don't understand the fascination.
Because thank you for being a friend.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know what you've been watching lately, because it was kind of a quiet week, but I actually logged into Disney Plus, which I know you don't have that service anymore. This week they ran an ad across the top of my thing, obviously new to the platform. It was a 20th Century Fox film, The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah, based on a book.
Yeah. Was that ever a cry fest for me?
Was it?
Oh my gosh. I started watching it and I was curled up in a ball convulsing by the end of it.
Yeah, that's a movie.
Holy cow. Talk about heavy.
Yeah, it's going to do that to you.
Yeah, the whole cancer thing.
Oh my god. It's so
brutal. 2 people with terminal cancer having basically having a being in love with one another and meeting your stars and watching them be complete dirt bags.
It's such a thing.
Oh my gosh. I highly recommend it for the off geek venture. If anybody wants to subject themselves to it, it is worthwhile. It's brilliantly acted. It's pretty heavy though, so be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other big news that came out this week for me personally was Dark Crystal Age of Resistance has been officially canceled.
Yeah, that was a choice.
Yep.
So I did a little bit of digging into it. I just want to get this out first. So I looked into it, and I'm going to find out why. But
yeah,
people smarter than me did some digging into why so many Netflix shows only get to about 2 or 3 seasons. So yeah, it looks like Wired has this story. CBR did a version of it earlier. But basically the gist from the Netflix, from the Wired reporting, is that because of how they structure their contracts, if you have a show that is successful enough that it does particularly well, you get a bonus. And basically that compensation for the core creative teams goes up with each additional season. So if you have a show that's successful, your pay keeps going up. Cool idea. The result is that, each season is increasingly expensive to make.
Yeah.
The other side of it is that Netflix doesn't like having a show run a deficit in like the first set of run. Right? So basically, for a show to last on Netflix, you need to be able to get a pretty wide audience as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the fan anger comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got kited along for a year without the cancellation, and we all have this like little rule. If your show comes on in season 1 and then 3 weeks later it's canceled, that's when it's going to be canceled from Netflix, because they look at how many people streamed it in that month or whatever, and they make their decision based off of some kind of calculator based off of that. This went on for a year of Netflix not committing either way, and I think a lot of people made the mistake of reading that, well, that's a good sign. However, when I look at how crazy season 1 was, all right, it looks to me like Cheryl Henson comes up to Netflix and says, well, how about we do this hybrid cartoon live action thing? Netflix says, well, no, let's just do the whole thing in practical effects. And the eyes, right? Like the producers, the writers, the directors are all like, are you serious? That's a lot of work, but we're up for it. So they go out and they make this thing. When you watch the making of the Age of Resistance, the excitement is palpable, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then I keep on looking at it. I'm going, this isn't sustainable, because not only is it all practical effects. Oh no, we need to go out and we need to get Brian Froud, the guy who was the creative force behind the movie, and get his whole family involved. Okay, that can't be cheap, but I get it for the authenticity. You go out and you do it, and you start making sets and creatures and blah, blah, blah. And then you go, well, we need his whole entourage. The creature workshop from Jim Henson's. We need them on set. Okay, go out and do it. Netflix is writing checks at this point. Just like, all right, is it going to be good? Yeah, it's going to be good. It's kids. It's going to have huge reach. Then they sit there and they go, you know what? It's just not good enough. We don't want Tyler doing the voice of the doctor, the Skeksis doctor. We need Mark Hamill. And you know what? Let's just get Sigourney Weaver to do the opening, because that'll be fun.
Yeah, why not?
And let's, like, you know what I mean? Like, now we're spending like we're at the strip club. Like, this is really like, Simon Pegg, what are you doing? All right, we want you to voice the Chamberlain. Like, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. And I'm overwhelmed as a fan, because I see it and I see it's coming back, and I see all these big names and I see all this excitement, and I'm like, yes, it's great. And it was great. But I'm thinking, how the hell do you do a season 2? Like, they blew their wad on the first season.
Well,
and I think that might be the death of it there, because how do you get a season 2 out of that and come up with any sensible budget? You know what I mean? Because you just basically hit the grand slam in the first season.
Yeah.
I don't know how you follow that up as a production company. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, what's Netflix going to do? Like, let's just say the first season cost $200 million or $150 million. Like, we're talking feature movie budgets here, most likely. Like, this is 10 hours of film. And on a product that was 37 years old.
Yeah.
Like a season 2? Like, what are you going to do? 500 million? Like 300 million? Like, where's that number go? Because they're not going to want to go, oh, you know what? We got to go with different voices. We got to do this. No, we had the girl from Game of Thrones in. We had this. We had that. We have expectations.
Mhm.
It's been a tough time this week watching the fan base who I'm very close with and a part of, watching them struggle so difficult, like with such a hard way with coming to terms and being so angry at Netflix. And I'm like, let's just celebrate the fact that Netflix did it.
True.
It was way beyond any of our expectations. It's proven that it's a viable IP. Keep on writing the comics. Keep on writing the books. Let it live on. And if it's good enough, somebody will pick it up and try to make a second season. If you write the best second season and you publish it, then maybe somebody goes, oh man, I really think that this needs to see screen time. Well, then we get it back. Like, I don't know. Easy come, easy go, I guess.
Yeah. I hear ya.
And my final story of the day, Tesla. I'm going to go a little geek dodge here. Tesla had a battery event this week. I don't know if you caught any of it, but basically they're re-engineering the battery into, it's going to become part of the structure of the car.
Sure.
It's going to drive the price down of Teslas, to which their stock price took a dive. Because Elon Musk basically said, well, it didn't take a huge dive. It just went down, though. Because Elon Musk said that he's going to conceivably be able to make a $25,000 electric vehicle for the North American market, which is a pretty aggressive price point. And the point that I really wanted, like, battery technology is going to improve. They spoke a lot of geek speak. But the real highlight of the show for me was the fact that in the Spaceballs tradition, the Plaid triple motor supercar, which is a 4-door sedan, set the record at Laguna Speedway, and is basically capable of beating McLaren's fastest cars as an electric production vehicle that will be available in 2021 in a 4-door sedan.
Yeah.
It's like 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds.
Sure. Why not? God.
I just love that it's the Plaid edition.
Yeah.
I just love how cheeky everything is. He had me at the moment that he put that Roadster into space and it had "Don't Panic" on the screen. Right there. I'm like, oh, you got me, Elon. You got me. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, you have anything to add, Tyler?
I don't like.
You have any stories or anything that you'll want?
No, I'm good. I don't like Elon. I don't.
Fair enough.
Every time this mofo opens his mouth, my portfolio of stocks goes just wiggity whack, and I'm like, no, stop. Shut up.
Oh, every time he goes on Joe Rogan.
Oh my god. And we're talking about Joe Rogan now. Look, Joe Rogan is getting in trouble with Spotify.
Yes, he is.
Like, how dare they? And I'm like, what the everyone in this situation is stupid. First of all, I don't love Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan is Gwyneth Paltrow for white men. It's goop for men, and you need to deal with it. But the other side of it is like, how does Spotify buy it and be like, oh, I thought Joe Rogan was going to change? Like, Jesus. And maybe this is, they had an agreement behind the scenes, and now like Joe is like, I didn't think you'd enforce that, and they're like, what's wrong with you? Or I don't know. I think that the only people who are in at all possibly the right here are the staff at Spotify being like, hey, we're not comfortable being involved with this. Because I think that employees, like, you get that right. You get to say to your boss, I'm not cool with this. Because of the way it goes.
It's just like working at Goop when Gwyneth brings the candle that smells like female genitalia.
All right. And it's just.
Apparently Joe Rogan might be making candles that smell like something else. I don't know.
Sure. Right. But God damn it.
Yeah. It's Joe Rogan's Joe Rogan. Good for him. But, it's a special brand. The only endearing thing that I'll say about his show is because of the long form, it's impossible to hide who you are. And I think that
point entirely.
Oh, really?
I disagree with the inability to hide who you are entirely. I've seen a number of people that have been able to fairly effectively stump Joe Rogan's capacity. I think that it is a safe space for snowflakes to be able to go on. No, it's straight up. For as much as they bitch about safe spaces and snowflakes, even Bill Burr is calling Joe out of like, what the fuck's wrong with you? But yeah, it's a safe space for snowflakes that, oh, I don't like how the world's changing. It's like, yeah, I get pissed off how the world's changing sometimes too. But Joe playing softball with people and doing the bare minimum pushback with people with some, frankly, fairly reprehensible views does not scream to me, we're getting to the bottom of this, or you can't hide who you are. Like, Joe Rogan had Milo Yiannopoulos on the show. Did he not?
I don't know. I don't actually. Years ago, I used to watch his show, or maybe summaries of his show.
Episode 702.
There we go.
Episode 702.
I found that some of the stuff was interesting. Some of it didn't appeal to me at all. So I wasn't a regular consumer of a show, but I've noticed more and more lately, like the hot clips that I see just seem to be more controversial than anything else. It's like shock jock radio.
Oh, 100%. Well, and him doubling down on like trans issues with just like the least educated take.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, come on, man.
You see, like I watch him on, he's done a few episodes of Man vs. Meat, I think, on Netflix and stuff. I don't mind him in that, but he's not saying his opinion. You know what I mean? Like he's going out there and hunting an animal, which I find that that's probably as close as I'll ever get to hunting. So it's fun to watch for me, but or it appeals to me on some kind of level, but it's not something that I regularly consume. And that's been my exposure to him, and like maybe some of his stand-up comedy, which I think when you're doing stand-up comedy, you're doing things to provoke audiences. You're doing things to generate that laugh or finish that phrasing or do whatever, right? You're on the play. So I get it, but it's hard to do, I guess. Like, it doesn't sound. Everything I hear coming out of his show seems to be controversial just for the sake of being controversial.
Well, yeah, I think he has reached. I'm an enlightened centrist bullshit political views when it's like, God damn it, you brought this up. No,
it's the whole political polarization, and he plays into it.
Yeah, he 100% plays into it, and he. I don't understand how you look at some of the situations going on in the world today, and you go, both sides are the same.
Yeah.
God damn it. I agree that, if you look at any party in Canada, I have criticisms of. I think none of them are doing as good of a job as I think they should. And same thing for the United States. But also, like, one party is saying, hey, gay people shouldn't have rights. And the other party's like, well, I think, corporate tax should only go up by 27% instead of 35%. And it's like, God damn it. How is this a fucking choice?
Oh my goodness. I think that's the best spot to leave it off at, because I think Tyler's just going to go crazy quietly now.
Choice.
Anyhow, people, it's been a great show. I appreciate everybody coming along to hear about all things geek, our news episode number 16. We talked about lots of fun stuff, but I just want to let everybody know where you can find us. And our website is www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, really anywhere that you have podcasts. And if you like what you hear, make sure that you smash the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. And it's made possible, like this whole show is made possible by listeners like you. So we thank you for your support. And please reach out to us on the Twitter, on the Instagram, anywhere where you can find us. Let us know how you enjoyed it, what you didn't enjoy, what you'd like to see talked about, what maybe we missed. We appreciate it, people, and have yourself a great day.
It's all in Canada.
I forgot. It's in Canon. Tyler, what is it?
It's all